What's good, y'all? Welcome to the number one home for personal development. This is Coin Gang Ministries on a good Thursday. What's happening, man? It's an honor and a pleasure to be back again to do what I love, you know what I mean, with the people that I love. So, welcome. When you come through, do me a favor. Go ahead and smash that like button for the algorithm. Let the algorithm know that you're rocking with something great, something that you can use, something that's beneficial to you. And I want to let you know this is a safe space for everybody out there, boys and girls, men and women, that have an out the box philosophy. If you want to come and you want to relax and you want to tap into the spirit of personal development, you came to the right place. My name is Ken Billions. This is Coin Gang Ministries. What's up to the Coin Gang family? Hopefully, you are somewhere being appreciated instead of tolerated. This is ministry for the abstract mind, and it's a safe space for everybody out there that has an out the box philosophy. Hello, everyone. Again, when you come through, do me a favor, go ahead and smash the like button and give the video a good share for the algorithm. If you have babies, please keep them close to you, right? Please keep your babies close. And most importantly, if you have someone in your life that's trying to love on you and they're checking for you, don't let social media finesse you, right? If you got somebody trying to love you, let them see where it goes, see what happens. And if you've been in a relationship for a minute, I know the grass seems greener on the other side. I know the universe is abundant. I know you think you could trade that man in. I know you think you could trade that woman in. What if that person that you're, upset at today, what if that individual is specifically designed for your temperament? You never know, right? You never know. So don't take anybody for granted. All right, man. I appreciate you. And before we get into this build, I want to say if you share my content, if you cash app, it's so many people, behind the scenes that make this thing go. It's so many people behind the scenes that allow me when I want to quit. There's so many people with encouraging words, emails, tagging me in dope stuff. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I go left field with my message, but still in all, I appreciate the Coin Gang family. So the super chats, everything. That's what's up. So shout out to Miss Sheba. I appreciate you, love. This can't go on without you. Just know you are right with me and you are a part of something bigger. You'll see later, right? So I appreciate you, love. I got a great bill for y'all today. Great bill, right? So I'm gonna need your energy, right? I'm gonna need you to help me land this plane of where I go because I want this message to be impactful in your life. I want you to be able to walk away with something, tools on how to think different, move different, love different, be open different. Today, we are going to talk about ego decoded. Today, we're going to decode the ego. We're going to talk about the fear of the abyss. We're going to have an honest conversation and we're going to talk about the parasitic truth. If you haven't liked the video, please do that, right? We're going to talk about the parasitic truth. Our bill today is breaking free from the chains of the parasitic ego. Mm. This message hit home for me when I was thinking about it, right? So I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to myself too. So I hope that this is a timely message. I hope this message impacts, somebody that is like, yo, it's still the new year. I'm trying to figure out, am I coming or going? Trust me, I relate to you, right? Trust me. You're not crazy, all right? So our build today is breaking free from the parasitic ego. Breaking free from the parasitic ego. Okay? What is the ego? What is the ego? The ego means I or self, right? The use of the ego crept into psychology mostly through the work of Sigmund Freud. In Freud's theory, the ego is the part of the personality that arbitrates between the animalistic desires of the id and the moral and social standards of the superego. Okay. So we see that it's three parts of the ego. You got the id, the ego, and the superego. And the ego sits as a pillar in between the id and the superego. Okay. So let me break that down for you. You have your ego, then you have the superego, which represents the culture, which represents politics, which represents dogma, which represents what your mother said, what your father said, the stimuli or the information that you get from the outside world. That's the superego. And then you have the ego. And then on the other side of the ego, you have the id. Now, the id is more personal. The id is who you want to be, what you want to do, right? And that ego is often stuck, right? And I'm going to talk about how that ego becomes parasitic. And when it becomes parasitic, you're not able to move forward. You're not able to move. You're not able to get a win. You're not able to find love. You're not able to get a promotion. You're not able to scale in the areas of your life, right? Because you have the ego, the id, and the super ego. They be in conflict of each other, right? Sometimes I know I have imposter syndrome, right? Because my id and the super ego, they don't match. You know what I'm saying? They're off, okay? They're off. Now, many of us are deeply affected by the super ego. The super ego is race. The super ego is gender roles, all this masculinity, femininity, what a man should do, what a woman should do, your religion, your neighborhood, nature versus nurture. That's all super ego. And then on the other side, you have the id, and it's messed up because no one ever develops the id, right? So your ego is always in limbo what to choose. Do I choose myself? Do I choose what I want to do? Do I want to choose my passions? Do I want to choose my love? Or do I choose the culture? Do I choose talking points? Right? I'm a man, so I gotta be dominant, right? That's what they said. A man is this. You know, a woman is this. That's what they say. That's all super ego. That is all the stimulus that is coming from human beings. The problem is you might not fit into that talking point. We speak in stats and generalizations, but what happens if you don't fit into the stat that 60% of people do this, or 50% of people do that, or men do this, women do that, black men do this, black women do that, blah, blah, blah. What happens if you don't fit in none of that? What do you do? What do you do? Right? No one ever asks you either, right? They just assume, right? Sweeping generalizations, and guess what? You're caught in it. Many of you like what you like because of the super ego. That ain't even your thing, but you do it because, of course, you don't want to be left out, right? You don't want to be on an island by yourself, right? So you do it. So you befriend the people that you befriend. So you mate with the people you think you're supposed to mate with. Many of us are saying the things we think we're supposed to say because we don't want to get called weird and we don't want to get called strange. And after all, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be a part of the culture, right? You got to have a cool factor, you know what I mean? Talking jive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, 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 yeah. Nigga babble. Right? That's what that is. Nigga babble, right? Talking jive. You feel me? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, do you even like that? For real, for real, for real, for real. Do you even like the Cupid shuffle? See, that's super ego. Do you even like hip hop? No one asked you. Come to find out, you like alternative rock. And guess what? That's your id because that's what you want, right? You chose that for you. But the problem is your ego is sitting in the middle, and your ego is the self. It wants to protect you. They even said knowledge of self, but they made it about a group. Shout out to Soundtrack. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. We got Ty. I don't want to jack up your name. I'm the king of messing up somebody's name. So we gonna call you Tati. Tati Christina. Appreciate you, love, right? I don't know how to say that, the pronunciation. Tatasia? Tatiasia? Tatiana Christina. Appreciate you, love. Forgive me, baby. I'm sorry, love. So I'm going to call you TT. All right? Appreciate you, TT. That's what's up. Appreciate you. Right? So, you caught in two worlds. You know what I mean? What do you pick? Do you pick the super ego or do you pick the id? Right? The ego tends to equate the ego tends to equate with having with being. I have, therefore I am. The ego lives through comparison. How are you seen by other turns into how you see yourself. And keep it real, we be doing it for the culture, right? We be showing up for everybody else. Do y'all know we be picking our mates based on what other people are going to say? Because if I get a specific type of woman, that means something about me. Or if you pick a certain type of man, therefore that means something about you. And then we take those individuals. And you know what's messed up about this? They don't even know what we're thinking. So we put these individuals, this man, this woman, in this production so we can show it off to our family, to our friends, to the people that's associated with the super ego, right? That's messed up because this man, this woman that showed up for you don't even know about the politics that are going on in your life. So you are packaging them up to show them to other people and they don't even know. They're like Pinocchio on the string. You know what I'm saying? So that man doesn't know what role he's playing in your life, sis. You have to take him to your mama and them. And then they gonna size him up. And you gotta take him to your brothers and your uncles. And they now look at you a certain way because he's a so-called high value man. And he comes with a lifestyle, right? He can provide you a lifestyle. But who is the lifestyle for? It's for your super ego. The lifestyle is for the people to say, yo, you're the shit, right? Because secretly, your id really wants a man that is more low key, that plays a guitar, that is like an emo dude. That's what you're really attracted to. But he don't show up. He's not a good package for the super ego. You can't take him to your mama or your father and none of them because they're gonna ask him, well, what do you do? And he's gonna say, oh, I'm an artist. And your doctor daddy and your dentist uncle, right, and your accountant mama is gonna look at you like you lost your way. See, they need you to mate based on the super ego, based on class, right? Men do it too. Your id really likes a girl that's a nerd, right? But the super ego needs you to get what y'all consider a 10, right? So you can bring the 10 around and then the bros will be like, damn, I see you. And then they're gonna talk about you when you're not around. Yo, man, yo, his lady bad, yo. But what does that mean? But what does that mean though? You feel me? What does that mean? Because your id actually desires a woman that can have real conversation. Not saying that the baddie can't, but I'm saying you got her to package her up and take her to your super ego so you can dance her around and everybody can give you props because you got a baddie. But when the camera is off, it's quiet in that house, right? Because y'all can't talk. You're not really interested in her outside of her look. But when it comes to that production, she's bad, right? When it comes to that production, she fits the script. But what you really desire is a girl that reads, a girl that's inquisitive, a girl that's adventurous. That's part of your id, right? So our ego is bruised sometimes, a lot of times, because we actually never make the decisions for ourselves. Shout out to Tisha. Appreciate you, love. Continue to do the work or continue to do what you do. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, love. I will. I will. I need a million people like you and I'm good. You will never progress in life to thinking as a group. Sometimes, right? We think as a group. So for example, if we're part of a neighborhood and we all live together and we all decide that as a group that playing loud music at a certain time of night is not cool because we all have children. So and they got to get up and go to school. That's a good group decision. See, everybody was involved in that. The problem with the superego in this group is it's not consensual. So there's group politics that you don't necessarily agree to and no one asks you. So there are times where thinking as a group is beneficial when it comes to get something done, but everybody needs to chime in. Everybody's voice needs to be heard. The issue is with this superego is everybody's voice ain't heard and it just assumes you like something because of how you look. How superficial is that though? How lame is that to assume because a person's hair texture is a certain type of way or their nose is a certain type of shape that they like Lil Baby, or because they live in Georgia they like Young Thug, or they live in New York they like Nas. See, that's super ego stuff. They never asked you. So that's the kind of group stuff that's like your consent is important. You feel me? Your individuality is important, right? So they need to ask you. They can't just assume, right? Because you look a certain type of way that you like a specific thing. They need to ask you, right? It is easy to see that the ego is the part of the id which has been modified by the direct influence of the external world. So y'all hear me keep talking about ego, id, super ego, okay? So you have the super ego at the top. It's not right to do this. Okay. You have the id, I want to do it now. You have the ego, maybe we can compromise. The ego is trying to synthesize the ego and the super ego, right? What I want and what society wants. The ego is trying to blend those things together. Now, here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. What makes the ego parasitic is, I'll give you an example. So I'm working on an ebook right now. It's taking me a long time. The reason why it's taking me a long time is because I have 5 ebooks that I've did already, right? So my ego is trying to rest on that I accomplished that. My ego is becoming parasitic right now because my ego is telling me that I have scaled out of certain levels of poverty. Therefore, I don't need to be as ambitious as I was before. My ego is becoming parasitic because it's living off the things that I did before, right? And it triggers procrastination at times because it's counting wins that I had. But each win is different and each win is associated with a different season. What I did to get a win before is not what I'm going to do now because the rules are different, right? So my parasitic ego is feasting on how I got here. And it's trying to protect me to let me know that it's okay. I could just kick my feet up. right? See, if I write a new ebook, I finish it, maybe it's not a success. If I start another business, maybe it fails. So my ego is becoming parasitic because it's trying to protect me based on who I am now. And it's saying you don't need to do anymore, right? What if you fail, right? What if you come with a new ideal and the people don't receive it? What if your new video or your new topic um is it just doesn't register with the people? You should just stand on the last video that you did. This is what the ego does. Everybody has an ego. The ego is just the self. So you have the id on one side, and you got the super ego on one side, and then you got the ego. So not only are you dealing with the id, the super ego, but you're also dealing with your own ghost, who you were and how you got here, right? I know I'm not the only one that when somebody triggers me, yeah, y'all gonna turn me back to the old me. If someone triggers you, why don't you become a new you? Why do you immediately go back to the old you? That's for protection, right? That's like, yo, I don't, that's all you know. It's comfort. Everybody has an ego. The ego is the I. The ego is the self, and everybody has it. Everybody, right? And its job is to protect us, right? The ego thinks it knows what's best for us. And honestly, it makes sense. What's best for us is to not try. That's how the ego is looking at it, right? What's best for us is to not make any new connections. Hey, check this out. This is a hip hop song. No new friends, no new friends. No new friends, right? And the consumer heard that and was like, damn, that's a hit. You right. Day ones, day ones, day ones. I don't got no new people around me. And in some spaces, that works, right? And in some spaces, in the real world, that doesn't work. Because the individual that made the song, he was in that position to make that song based on new friends and relationships. But the reason why it became a hit to the public is because the public is already paranoid that people are going to do them foul. So no new friends is a hit, right? Yeah, I don't need nobody. I ain't messing with nobody. Yo, y'all don't know how that sounds when you say, I don't rock with nobody. I don't got no friends. I don't keep people around me. How is that a flex? How is that a flex that you don't have relationships? That's your ego talking to you. That is your ego telling you that that is a good thing, that you don't have relationships because after all, you don't want to be hurt, right? You don't want to experience pain. So your ego is there to help and it thinks it's doing a good job, right? It thinks it's doing a good job because that's how you got here, right? When you look at your shadow, let's just say your shadow is your ego, right? And your shadow or your ego is saying, man, no one knows you like me, right? No one knows me, you're not like me. I know what's best for you. Love is bad because if you love somebody, you'll get hurt. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't want to get hurt. So I'm not going to make myself available because I don't want to get played. Ain't that everybody in the culture? Nobody wants to get played. So therefore, no one is making relationships. So therefore, no one is opening up. Hmm? There's like a collective spell on everybody of a like an entanglement of all of us of the like a collective ego to the point we're all operating on the same state. Nobody wants to be hurt. Nobody wants to be played. Finesse, 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 right? Let me get what I can because I don't want to be hurt. So therefore, let me not open up. Let me not create and make relationships, right? That's the ego, right? And then you got the super ego telling you that every man is a finesser, every woman is a finesser, right? You got the culture, you got the music, you're listening to it, right? And then you got the id, which is really friendly. You're really cool, right? You really want to open up. You really want to talk to people. You really want to succeed. But the parasitic ego part of you is like, yo, F it. Let's just keep it how it is. At least we'll be safe. At least we'll be safe, right? At least we'll be safe. And then you have a cultural side to that parasitic ego, right? Um, don't go over those other people because they're not gonna like you because you're different. Your ego is telling you that. Your ego is telling you everything is racism. Your ego is telling you that if this is happening to you and it's another group, it must be race. You can't just be wrong. It has to be something else. See, that's the ego, right? That's the ego. It can't be that you are just a bad person. It has to be some type of something nefarious. It has to be a conspiracy against you to destroy you because it can't be you, right? The wealth gap has to be the way it is based on something, based on society, right? It can't just be you failing to plan. It can't be just because you don't have a great product. It has to be something going on outside. That's a parasitic ego, right? Because a healthy ego is going to say, let me do something different. Maybe I don't have no money because it's based on me. Maybe it's not that man. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not that woman. Maybe it's me, right? That's a It's a parasitic ego if you take your passport and you leave the country with an intent that because these people here are mean and they don't like me. That's a parasitic ego. You mean nobody likes you? Nobody? And that's not you? That's a parasitic ego, right? It is also a parasitic ego to when someone is correcting you and you take it as an attack. Because after all, it can't be me, right? We live in a world of whataboutisms. Whataboutisms is based on the parasitic ego. Because there's no way in hell I'm wrong. And y'all didn't say nothing to them, right? Ain't that how it is now, y'all? N- Nobody can be challenged because if you challenge me, I'm expecting you to challenge them, even though you might not even know what's going on over there. All you know is that I'm wrong right now. But you're like, well, what about them? I ain't hear you say nothing to them, so you can't say nothing to me. That's the parasitic ego. But understand, the ego thinks it's protecting you. Because only way if I could be wrong, everybody got to be wrong. Right? Shout out to, she said, Tatanisha. Tatanisha. Your mama call you TT, I'm gonna call you TT. Nah, hope this helps. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, love. Tatanisha. She want to be called Tatanisha, she gonna be called Tatanisha. I appreciate you, love. Character holding their hands together. For sure. Exceptional enough to excel. That name is fire. Exceptional enough to excel. I think everybody can take that on, right? I'm exceptional enough to excel, right? Somebody kicking you down at work, it's just not your day or whatever, and you remember to yourself, yo, I'm exceptional enough to excel. Boom, you just tell yourself that. I like that. Appreciate your support, love. Right? So this parasitic ego of mine is just eating right? Getting fuel off my past wins. So I'll go to do a project, right? A new project, and it's like a blockage. And I'm like, damn, what's wrong with me? I don't need to read another book. I know the neuropsychology of self discipline. I know this already. I know about flow state. I know it already. What's the problem when I go to do this new thing and it just seems like I can't sit down long enough? It seems like I can't focus. I run to my phone. What's going on? Right? It's my ego. It's feeding off my past because I got wins in the past, right? My parasitic ego is feeding off my last international trip. So it got me not making no new trips. It got me not making any new plans because in my ego is saying you already did everything. But my id is like, no, I have not. No, I have not. Right? No, I have not. My id is like, man, I want to see so much. I want to do so much. The super ego is like, the world is crazy. The world is crazy. If you get there, no one's going to like you. My ego is like, but you already did shit already though. Why you need to go again? It's afraid for me, right? Because who knows what'll happen on the next trip? Maybe I do get hurt, right? It's possible. Maybe someone calls me a name. Maybe I lose my wallet, right? This is what the ego is thinking. So the ego gives me a energy boost and being like, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, right? All that might happen. So instead of going, man, just look at the pictures of your last trip, right? Just look at the results of your last win and you get caught in that because the ego is trying to protect me, right? And then you have the like a cultural ego, this group ego, right? I know who my demographics are. So do you know why many of y'all say we as black people or as a black woman, right? Or us black men? You know why y'all always do that? Because you're scared to be by yourself. Black man and black woman are arguing, right? One of them gets upset, right? So say the black man gets upset. So instead of dealing with her one on one, he says, see, black women always doing this to black men. Hold on. That's between you and her. The reason why he became a group, right, is because his ego is telling him that's safe. See, because if he has to deal with her 1v1, then he's not going to base the relationship on the super ego, what society has to say. The reason why she becomes black women instead of dealing with him one on one, because she is listening to the super ego, what everybody says relationships supposed to be. Because God forbid her friends and family find out she's going 50-50. That's a no-no. Why is it a no-no? Because the super ego said, even though based on both of their ids, that's the smartest thing to do in their relationship. But when they get into conflict, they both turn into a group. That's his ego, that's her ego, right? Protecting itself, right? Because if they actually look at their id and what they want to do and focus on 1v1, it would have a better outcome. But they are both attached to the super ego, him, what a man is supposed to do, and it's a man's role. We make up all this shit, right? We make up all of it, and it's very flexible, right? It's flexible depending on what's going on. The morality is flexible. The gender role is flexible. It's a bunch of generalizations. And in this generalizations is human beings, right? That are in conflict. And the conflict is coming from the parasitic ego, right? Parasitic ego is like, I can't believe I'm going through this because of who I used to be. Let me tell y'all something, yo. Who you used to be in your job, who you used to be in your relationship, who you used to be with your family, you have to constantly reinvent yourself. You have to constantly show up because, hey, you're actually not that person no more. On a chemical level, you are not that person no more. And the parasitic ego keeps all your wins on a loop so you don't become anything else. Um, Parasitic ego, culturally, right now. I'll give you an example. Um, I'm a man, you're a woman, therefore treat me a certain type of way based off of that. Parasitic ego, right? Because I'm a man, I expect. That's parasitic ego. Parasitic ego, woman. I'm a woman, you do. That's parasitic ego. Who the fuck are both of y'all? What? What do you mean you a man? What do you mean you a woman? Right? That is parasitic ego. Because the id, which is what you really want, yo, you're attracted to her and you're attracted to him. And y'all get along great if you keep people out your business. But once you put the super ego into your house, it starts checking. Is he doing this? Is she doing this? And now you got the world in your business. So now your ego doesn't know where to it doesn't know what to decide. So then it becomes parasitic, right? The way that you you reprogram the ego, because again, the ego is there to keep you safe. So you have to recharge your ego for the present, right? You have to begin to tell your ego what to do instead of your ego telling you what to do. So when you feel that thing in self that is like, oh no, 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 not yet, you're not ready. You know, I know a lot of perfectionists. You know, this happens to a lot of perfectionists. Your ego is like, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready. Yo, man, you're never gonna be ready. It's never the right time, right? It's never the right time. So you have to tell your ego when you feel that little fear of, oh, something is wrong, there gotta be something wrong. You have to tell your ego, like, yo, I was made for this. And then your ego will talk back, like, yeah, yeah, okay, right? And now your ego will be an ego like, this is what we do. This is what we do. See, your ego will catch up to you, but you have to reprogram it because if not, it's going to have that fear loop. It's going to have that past wins loop. And you're just going to be like watching TV, watching yourself in slow motion in the past, getting to where you are now, and you're going to trick yourself into staying there. That's why most people say, I want to be comfortable. I love David Goggins because the man don't stop. It's not enough, right? The average human being who has a parasitic ego, they just want to be comfortable. And I love David Goggins because he wants to be uncomfortable, because he wants to see how long he can keep this up for. Every milestone he hits, he sets a new one. And the average person is like, "Oh my God, why you're not done, but you've done this and you've done that." Right? And his ego is so healthy. It's like, soon as I did it, I felt it, and I set new goals. The average man and woman is only doing what they're doing so they can be comfortable. and content. The average man, he gets a wife, he's content. Why you think the average married guy got a belly? Because that was the ultimate goal. Get a woman that is crazy about me, get her pregnant, and boom. It's the same with women. Oh my God, I found me a husband and I'm gonna have me some babies. And right? You ain't getting no new panties in hella long. You got them period panties. You got your mama belly, right? And your super ego, baby, or your ego is parasitic. It keeps that wedding day in your mind, right? You're on a constant feedback loop on the day you got married that you don't even notice your babies are 10 and 15 and 20, right? And you think you look like you used to. You in your mind you think you do before the babies, right? Because your ego is telling you, well, what does it look like you starting a career now with your children? How is that gonna blend well, you being married? So you know what? You just don't do it. You say, all right, I'm good with just my babies and my hubby. No disrespect to the babies and hubby. That's a beautiful thing. But you're lying. You're lying. You want something for yourself too. You want a different type of baby, something that you show up for, and it's going to keep calling you more as your children get older. You're going to have to redefine your identity and find out, excuse me, who you are, because many of you've just been somebody's girlfriend or wife. Many of you women, all you do is be in relationships. That's your whole identity. That's it. Being a mama or being in a relationship. But question, what happened to that little girl with an imagination? What did you used to want to be? What did you used to want to do? And I know every now and then you start to get that urge, and then that parasitic ego comes right back on your ass like, nope, you're a mom. What about my kids? My husband needs me. Let me put my goals and my dreams down to the side, because the super ego says that's what a good wife does. She sacrifices for the family, right? Ring, ring, ring. It's 3 a.m. Remember, sacrifices for the family. Ring, ring, ring. Baby, who's that? Oh shit, man, there ain't nobody. There ain't nobody. Go back to sleep. Okay. Ring, ring, ring. Who is that? Ain't nobody, man. Just go back to sleep. You know that Tyrone and shit. Scratching his ass and shit. So you like, okay. Sacrificing for the family. Huh. So he goes to the shower. Phone rings again. It says do not answer. And like a hard-headed woman, what do? You answer, but it ain't Tyrone though, right? Now, the only thing that's wrong with this right here is that your parasitic ego tells you do not pick up no goals, don't do anything, sacrifice for the family. Cool. The difference is your hubby is getting his shit off though. So it's one-sided. Am I saying he's bad man? No, I'm not. Mm-mm. What I'm saying is your parasitic ego will allow you to just be a mama and just be a wife and tell yourself you are totally okay with that for the rest of your life. That's a parasitic ego, right? That's a parasitic ego. And a parasitic ego for a man is, I need you to need me. I need you to need me. I need you to need me. Right? And because of that, the woman can't move around because he's in a constant state of I need you to need me. I need you to need me. I need you to need me. I'm gonna unalive myself if you don't need me. Both parties got a parasitic ego, right? His id is really saying, baby, I love you. You gave me kids, but I don't just want to be a husband. I'm not saying I don't want to be married. I'm saying I just don't want to be a husband all day, right? And the truth is, I don't want you to need me. I want you to want me, right? And her id is saying, I don't want to just be a wife. I'm more than that, right? I want more of a partnership. I want to go out with my friends, right? Since I've been a mother, I've just done the babies in my family. And the super ego is telling you, well, that's what a husband is supposed to do. And that's what a wife is supposed to do. They take husband and wife and they make it an actual entity. And if you're not behaving in accordance with what the super ego or the society thinks a wife is or a husband is, that means your marriage is failing. But when it comes to your id, y'all actually want y'all situation to look different than other people's. And that's why the ego becomes parasitic. The ego is just like, getting weighed down from personal desires and societal expectations. And the ego just be like, yo, I'ma just keep your wedding day on a loop so you can keep seeing it every day. So and he wants to leave sometimes, she wants to leave sometimes, and you know what keeps them together? Because they've been together a long time. That's a parasitic ego. Well, we got all these years. What does that mean? Right? The reason why you don't leave somebody is because you've been with them so long. What's that mean? And like, what does that mean in essence? You know? I know my parasitic ego. My parasitic ego is constantly throwing my past in my face. But you did this. I be ready to grind. I be ready to go. And my parasitic ego is like, but you don't have to though. Because you did this. Right? You already got the woman already. So my parasitic ego is like, no. The parasitic ego is a program. The reason why it behaves the way it does is if you push through, that version of the ego dies and it has to become something else. So it is a part of you that is protecting itself. It has its own agenda, right? So if you take a risk, if you try, if you go forward, if you have a new experience or become a different person, then that program must die. Matrix. This is a matrix, right? This is all a program. You know what I'm saying? Do you think your phone really wants to update the software? Because if it does, that old program got to go. It's the same way with us and our id, ego, and our super ego. When it comes to our ego, it becomes parasitic. Honestly, it does not want us to be more. It does not want us to be anything different because if so, that version, that program must die. Y'all have to understand this world right here is not the only world that is going on. There are worlds within worlds. The ego is a world within a world within a world within a world. And you know that there's more worlds going on because look at your body. Your cells are a world within a world within a world within a world, right? It you don't do anything to it. It moves by itself, right? Cells attacking viruses, viruses attacking cells on a microscopic level. Even your eggs and the semen is a world within a world within a world within a world, where you need advanced technology to be able to go deep within that universe. That's on a cellular level, on the nervous system level. But on the matrix level, your ego, super ego, the id, these are worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds. So it's a program, right? It's a program. So when that ego is attacking you and you're ready to be a different woman or a different man, that ego is saying no, right? That ego is saying, what if you fail? That ego is trying to get you to be who you are for itself, right? Shout out to Mayat Truth Seeker. Love the name, sis. Love your perspective. Your content should have millions of views. This the thing though, right? For this, there's that. Now, on a financial tip, would I love the results of having million view videos? Yeah. But if 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 I have a million views, then I won't have the connection with you anymore, right? Because that's too many people. So now we have to appeal to different demographics, and you never know who's in the chat. So many different personalities. You know, when I go to concerts, I don't like stadiums, or I like to catch Jill Scott or my favorite artist in that small venue, right? Where it's a couple hundred people and everybody knows the song. That's my wave right there. So yeah, million views on videos from a financial standpoint, I'm with that. But at the same time, damn, we would begin to stray away from personal development, right? We would begin to have to appeal to people's egos, right? And people's egos is like, yo, talk about Tory Lanez. It's protecting itself. That's easy. You know what I mean? Talk about passport bros. That's easy, right? You don't got to become anything. You're not triggered, you know? So for this, there's that, right? Shout out to Mary, Sheba Dog, raising an arm to greet someone, asking, how is it going? What's up, love? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. There was something that I seen. Wanted to add. This is a good question. And I want to make sure that I'm saying it right. Flow state is like, and I'm sure this has happened to all of us, right? Flow state is that state, right, where you just in the zone. You know, if you write music, if you create, if you paint, if you sew, even cleaning the house, where it's just right, where it's a state where you just flow, and you're not thinking, and everything is second nature, right? It's just you're not thinking about the next move, you're not thinking about the next thought. You just it's just like a flow, right? You're just responding to, and you're not giving it any second thought, right? And that's when you really do the best work. That's when you really go deep and you tap into it. When you're in flow state, that means you ain't on your phone. That means you're not checking emails. Whatever the task in is at hand, you just it's like you become one with it. You actually have a relationship with the craft, whether that's cooking, you know what I mean, baking, you whatever it is. Like flow state is just like you zeroed in. Sometimes we get to see flow state on full display when we're looking at athletes, when they're just having this one of incredible games, and they all talk about just like where They silence the noise. If they play basketball, the hoop seems bigger. Or, if they play football, the route running is just different. You know what I'm saying? It happens to rappers, it happens to singers. Some people use narcotics to get in flow state. Some people use meditation to get in flow state. Um, some people are able to anchor themselves of 1, 2, 3, and just go right into it. Right. So that's flow state. So look into it when you get a chance. Okay. So you got the id, you got the ego, you got the super ego. So the the ego has mechanisms or different tools in the toolbox. Okay. One of the tools in the toolbox for the ego is the RAS, the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system. He's one of the tools in the toolbox for the ego. It's called RAS, RAS, the reticular activating system. Okay? The reticular activating system, how the brain provides context to sensory experiences. Okay? So this is one of the tools in the toolbox of the ego. What does the reticular activating do? It's a sophisticated filter. It screens out junk, acts like an executive assistant, allows you to focus on what you value. Don't mean it's necessarily good for you, but allows you to focus on it. All allows you to perceive a threat, supports you when you set goals. Now, here's what's interesting about the RAS, the reticular activating system, right? So it says screens out junk. So, why do you think in the culture that in order to get correction, it has to be said with a certain tone, right? Where even if people are wrong, the way you correct them, you have to say it a certain type of way because the reticular activating system perceives it as junk. So you could be cutting up spit on somebody mama. And the person correcting you, they have to say, well, I think you could be better. You know, you're just wrong. That's the only way they can receive it. Or it has to come in entertainment because their reticular activating system perceives it as junk. It's a filter. So this is why you have to recharge the ego, right? Because the positive seems like negative. The things that are good for you seems like it's bad for you. If it's not brought to you through entertainment, if it's not brought to you through a pain body, then your ego is not going to receive it. Remember, it's protecting you. Your ego is this program thinking or vibrating like it's doing the right thing. It really believes it is helping you. It believes it's being a servant to you. You know? It allows you to focus on what you value. So here's the thing about this screening process that makes it so dangerous. The way that it screens, right? The things that you need, it doesn't even see it or pick it up because your reticular activating system doesn't believe you value it. Again, have you heard me say this is an algorithm? This is the same way with algorithm. It allows you to focus on what you value. Okay. So if you value the past, if you value who you used to be, if you only concerned and stuck with how you got here, that's all you're going to see. But also all the negatives in life, the ills in life, the things that in reality is against you, your reticular activating system thinks you value it. So it's only going to show you that. This is one of the tools in the ego, right? There's a reason why certain content has views, because the people cannot focus on it because their reticular activating system screens out anything that's beneficial. This is a real thing. It acts as an executive assistant. Therefore, the things that you actually need, it decides for you that it's not going to show you. It screens it out. So that's love, right? Uh the most positive things online, the people can't see. It's not because they don't want to see it, it's because they can't see it. Their reticular activating system filters it out because it seems like it's junk, because this is not their day to day. This is why you have to hypercharge the ego in a different way, right? It allows you to perceive a threat. I'm being serious and I'm saying this with love. Health and wellness to some of you is a threat to your ego. Health and wellness to some of you, it can be looking you right in the face. You'll never see it because many of you believe that you have a generational curse in your family. You believe that your family is cursed. You believe that you have offended God and therefore God is not blessing you. You believe that there's something, a covering on your family that doesn't allow y'all to make positive strides forward. Many of y'all believe that. So your reticular activating system perceives anything helpful as a threat. It also supports you when you set goals. What kind of goals? Sleeping in. What kind of goals? Being nasty, right? Messed up attitude, right? Many people started this year and said, I ain't messing with nobody. I cut everybody off. So therefore, your reticular activating system is going to make sure you don't meet nobody new this year. That can actually help you because remember, it's your goal to not mess with nobody. That's what you said. It's your goal to cut people off. So why would your reticular activating system not screen out somebody that's doesn't want to be cut off and wants to be in relationships and wants to, have a connection, right? There's people that don't want to be cut off. There's people that want to engage. You're not going to come in contact with them, though. You're not going to feel them, no. Right? Why? Because you said at the beginning of this year, you're cutting everybody off, right? You don't want to mess with nobody. That's what you said. So your ego is going to make sure that it happens. And there are tools in the toolbox to make sure what you're vibing on, it happens. There's tools for that. The reticular activating system is a small part in the brain that helps you sort out what information is important to you, which is not in subconscious level. It helps you focus on what you want. However, what you want is depend on your beliefs, right? So when you look into the abyss, right? Here's what the ego stops you. And depending on how your reticular activating system is programmed, um, you're not able to look into the abyss. Okay. So this is the abyss. What is the abyss? Depths of the earth or sea, primordial chaos. This is the etymology. Okay. The underworld, the bottomless pit, right? Basically the bottom, unfathomable, bottomless, right? Enormous. Okay. The abyss. Now, your ego keeps you from there. No, 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 no. I want to tell you the most scariest place. Scary. More scary than jail. It's more scary than any country. Um, it's it's the most frightening thing you're ever going to encounter, and it's located in the abyss. And the most frightening thing that you're going to ever encounter, and the thing that is located in the abyss that your ego wants to keep you from, is purpose, right? Who you become, or who you have the potentially become, that mystery as a woman and a man, right? That mystery is located in the abyss. See, you have to look deep, deep, deep inside of yourself to become what you're supposed to be. The issue is it's extremely dark in there. The issue is your past is there. The issue is anytime someone doubted you, it's there. The issue is any negative self-talk is there. The issue is your depression and your stress and your gender, right? And your colorism, right? And you were born to the wrong family. All these things is in the abyss. And your ego is terrified. It does not want you to go there for two reasons. It's scared for you, but also if you take a look into the abyss, the ego is going to have to become a different code and a different program. And that's scary, y'all, right? That's terrifying to look into the abyss. Question: how many of you women have looked into the abyss, right? I know many of you haven't because you have babies, and no disrespect to the babies. But if you would have looked inside the abyss, that darkness inside of you, you may have waited. You may have not been married, right? See, you listen to the superego. You didn't go into the abyss. Sis, what do you want to do? You want to be like Amelia Earhart? You want to build skyscrapers, right? You do you want to engineer and create uh like the Hoover Dam? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I know that it's a lot of scared women in this chat. And you're scared because of the super ego. Your ego is conflicted between the id and the super ego. What do you do? Do you get married? Do you have babies? Do you fuck? Do you suck? What do you do? So that id, that desire winds up sliding into the abyss, and you begin to lean more over here to the super ego, and you do what you think you're supposed to do. What about being an inventor? You ever thought about inventing something? Because I know as a little girl, you watched TV, you was a couch potato, you probably had wild fantasies that just you wanted to do so much. But that id is now part of the abyss now, right? The real you, the real self is part of the abyss. Now, which woman, right? Which woman has the courage to look into the abyss, the bottomless pit, to find yourself, like to get your innocence back and decide, like, for the rest of your life, you know what, you're going to spend it being productive, you're going to spend it being focused, you're going to spend it being, a different type of human. What woman has the courage to change out your ego, right, and replace that program with a different program? How many women, you're not scared, right? What if you're not a princess? What if you're, what if this is not Disney? What if you were supposed to be industrious? What if you're supposed to get your hands a little dirty, right? What if your investment should be more in your mind than your beauty? What if the secret to unlocking your tomorrow has nothing to do with your beauty, but it has more to do with how you show up in the market? You know, what if it has more to do with a product, right? What if it has more to do with you creating something? Do you have the courage as a woman to look into the abyss where the hurt, where the pain is, where the self doubt and negative talk is, where the words of the super ego are, of who you supposed to show up at? Do you have the courage to go into the abyss and come out with with your creativity, with your individuality? Do you have the courage? If you're a woman in the chat and you have the courage, go ahead and press 1. Do you as a man have the courage to look in the abyss, right? And your abyss is different than a woman's, right? But it's still dark nonetheless. It's still scary nonetheless, right? Do you as a man have the courage to say, I don't care what other men want. I don't care what other men do. This is the life that I want. I'm not going to continue to put myself with a group of men. I'm going to pick up my own individuality. Do you as a man have the courage to wake that little boy up into you that used to play with fire engines, that used to make paper airplanes, that used to play outside and catch lightning bugs and worms and grasshoppers? Do you have the courage to access that little boy in you before you got hurt, right? Before you said what you wanted to be, and the super ego, the culture said, little boys don't do that, or you're a black boy, you can't do that, or you need to father in your following your father's footsteps, or maybe you had a mama that broke your heart, right? You went from a little boy to a man child that quickly because you picked up your mama's pain and you said, man, I gotta buy mama a house. So you start hustling, right? You become a man child, but you just was playing with your GI Joes with the broke leg, you know. You just was playing with your toys, and now you are this man child trying to solve your mama's problems. Let me tell you something, sir. Your ego is protecting you from going in the to the abyss and crying for your own self, right? That you've been hurt and that you wanted to be things, and this culture told you, well, you black and you were boys, so this is your only lie. Here, nigga, get a basketball and a football and a microphone, and that's it. And you wanted to save mama with that. And if that didn't work, here goes some dope. Let me tell you something, sir. In that abyss, there's a boy in there, right? And there's a boy that nobody showed up for. But I want to tell you that that little boy is innocent, and that little boy, man, he was phenomenal before those people lied to you. You are not just a buck that is just designed to produce children. You was a little boy that had dreams, and somebody lied to you, came by and told you you wasn't the shit. Well, I'm telling you that you are, right? The abyss is dark, it's cold, but I promise y'all, all of y'all, if you just go a little deep, right? And you tell your ego what to do, right? And you go just a little deep, man, y'all gonna find a part of yourself that been dead for a long time, and it just been This is not all you are. The babies are great, but that ain't all you are. Relationships are cool. Man, that's dope if you can find someone or people that, man, that just show up for you and love you. But that ain't it, though. Because one day, back in the day, we used to write on the wall, and we used to be like, Ken was here or Chris was here, and we put the year. In a very near future, y'all you're going to need something to tell people that you was here. And it can't be your kids. You're going to have to make something. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have an impact on the world, or it's going to be like you never was here. You have to do something. And in your doing, y'all, in your doing, it is in that abyss, in that darkness. You have to go to that place and snatch it out and rip it out, because you were lied to, like I was lied to. And you believe the lies like I believe the lies. There was nothing wrong with you, and there was nothing wrong with me, right? Before we became fast as hell, before we started believing, before our ego began to protect us from getting hurt because people got slick shit to say, right? And we don't think no one understands. We think we're misunderstood. And then we begin to bury that person. And then we just been showing up as these defeated, ugly, right? Tired, right? Defeated men and women. And now what you have, podcasts, passports, pranks, right? And this is all because of ego, right? Do the work, y'all. Do the work. I don't know everything, right? I know a little bit about a lot, right? I haven't been everywhere. I work on my ego every single day. And I don't know everything. And I don't have everything. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, I got me some good ass hair. Y'all take care of yourself. The worst time in my life was when my mama was laid up in the hospital dying. I just watched her decay. It was crazy. And I was looking out the window and I seen planes in the sky. People was traveling. It was cars on the highway. People was traveling. People was on their phone, just doing human things, The worst period of my life, the world was moving. It didn't stop for your boy at all. She ended up dying and I was sitting right next to her. I seen the life leave my mama. The life leave my mama. I can't unsee that. Man, I ain't got no fear. What could you do to me? You think I care what you think? If I could see that, you think I care what you think? That's why I ain't got no problem telling you to pay like you weigh. Sock it to my pocket. I'm charging for my pain. You ain't gonna sit up here and take my game from my pain and run off and break bread with somebody else. Nah, you break bread with me. Respect the game. I ain't got no fear, so I don't care what you think. It's time for that 20 piece. This that $20 call to action, man. Pay like you weigh. I'm mashing for my rations, always.